All right, we begin with our next session of the day, that is from Delhi chapter on fueling business transformation with artificial intelligence and machine learning by Rohit Handa, who is a associate vice president at Wipro Limited. Before beginning our session, I would like to thank our founding sponsor, Innovation Roots. It is a leading consulting and training service provider helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is one of the leaders and pioneers of niche publishing services and well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders, authors, and creators. For more information, visit www.innovationroots.com. I would also like to thank our sponsor Agile, which is a product offering from Tata Consultancy Services Limited, which is a purely cloud-based enterprise agile planning tool along with DevOps capabilities. Enterprise can use Agile to adopt agile practices or scale across multiple Scrum and Kanban teams using enterprise scaling frameworks such as SAFe, Disciplined Agile, Less, and more. You can try out Agile for free up to 20 users for 30 days by signing up at agile.io or reach out to us for any inquiries or exclusive product demo. Check out the Agile page on Agile Network India website for more information. Here are some do's and don'ts for the participants. Join the event 5 minutes before the start time. Use high quality speakers or headphones for better sound quality. Please keep your microphones muted and videos disabled as this may cause disturbance and bandwidth issue. I request all the participants to enter the questions in the chat box. Question will be taken by the chat box. And at the end of each session, the facilitator or the moderator will help and read out few questions to the speaker as per the time available. Please fill in the feedback forms after the event to help us understand more about the event management. We appreciate your cooperation. Without much making a delay, I would request Nupur to come on microphone and camera, who will be facilitating this session.
Hi,
And
thank you so
also,
much,
yes,
Nisha.
thank you, Nupur. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And I'm excited to be here facilitating this session with an interesting topic containing machine learning and AI, which is being talked a lot about these days. And what I see it as both of them help a lot in turning data into assets for any organization. And for business transformation, we need deeper understanding of both the concepts. And I'm happy that we have Rohit Handa with us today to discuss more about this topic. And let's begin with the session. Rohit, over to you. Looking forward to hear some amazing insights on this topic.
Thank you, Nisha and Nupur. Good morning, folks. I hope everyone is safe and good, in good health. So today we're trying to jump into a topic that is upcoming and that you guys might be hearing off and on in your daily lives. That most of the businesses are trying to move into AI ML. So how do you transform the current business using AI ML as a tech backbone? Is something that I want to dive in. And before I dive into that, what I would like to ask, and like I often ask most of my clients when I talk to them, do you really want to invest in machine learning and AI? And when I talk about this dry subject, you know most of the guys who have like got a notion, it's nothing but few statistical techniques which are being implemented to do some kind of forecasting or predictions. At that point, the answer that most of us here is that we are not a machine learning company. Our central objective is not that. Our goal is not that. We are not into statistics. We are not. These are not just important topics for us. But then when I wear my business hat and I just go to them and I ask in a twisted way, is your organization, looking for building a better products, higher productivity, or better customer experience? Oh yes, of course, that is our number one priority. That is what we are actually, trying to achieve. This is what I hear most of the times. But back of your mind, if you think for a second, isn't these both the same questions that we're asking? It's just in a different way. We're just removing the technicalities of out of it and just putting a business perspective to it to make it more lucrative, make it more convincing to our customer. The answer is yes. Of course, digital transformation is where the world is heading towards. Especially, you might have seen in the past year, where between 2020 and 2021, there has been so unprecedented circumstances where the businesses were not able to even predict what is going to happen next. They can't even see how they are going to make a customer experience better for the for their end clients. They can't even see that how they can make their employee more productive. In such scenarios, AIML, what I see in most of the organization, those who have actually adopted early in this game, I have been seeing my clients, they have actually been very successful in improving the customer experiences, giving better business outcomes. So those, and of course, within the organization, how exactly you can improve the employee productivity. So there are many areas that AIML, if you inculcate as a technology backbone to your organization, can help you. And of course, like I just said, that technology has become one of the existential need of the hour. It is you have to adopt to it, whether or not it appears to be a dry subject to the business stakeholders. It is definitely a backbone of any innovation system. Whenever there is uncertainty in your business, and yet you want to see your business growing with the same velocity or growing with a better velocity by day, and that is the reality of the business. So taking that all background into account, guys, what I'm thinking is that let's cover three things today. Why I should embark this journey. We ask our client, and most of my clients, when I talk to them, they will come back to me and ask me why should I take up that journey? And what are others? They're very inquisitive, obviously. They are checking that how are others, getting benefited? Are they really getting benefited? Is there any ROI to it? If I'm making an investment, how can I ascertain that it is going to reap benefits tomorrow for me? And lastly, okay, when I'm ready, then I need to understand. My clients want to understand, okay, what should I do next? How should I onboard this transformation flight? Am I the right applicant for it or not? So let's start with why should I embark this journey? So the answer lies within your organization. You check your organization, you see what are your business objectives, and you figure out what is the top goal that you're looking forward to, what are the low hanging fruits. You just bifurcate that. You understand, and how do you do that? You have data and data and data. Data is something, guys, that we have actually seen over the years how it has grown from, in heaps. I would say it has grown in heaps. Looking at the IoT devices, how the telecom and media world is growing, the multiple sources of data, whether it is structured, unstructured, like social media, feeds, etc. The data has been growing enormously. What I see is there is a flywheel. What you see on the right side of the slide being projected, more the data, better is the analytics. Of course, you have to clean the data. You have to figure out what data is important, what data is not important, what data is a machine learning readable data, which is actually required for your systems, and but definitely having more data will have more possibilities in front of you, having better outcomes. And as you see, if you have better outcomes, then there are better applicants as well. You get more applicants into the AML world. You will see more perspectives that will actually get into AI ML. So data is the core. It's a gold mine that every organization does have. It's just about how do we weed it out? How do we actually extract it out? How do we see it? And how do we structure it, make it more accessible to our systems, to our technology backbone? Now, let me define AI, because most of us have been hearing this AI and ML as a term. But if I say it in a very, very layman language, it is nothing but it's a cognitive function that is going to associate and mimic. It is going to mimic a human. Just as we learn, just as we solve a problem, we learn from our mistakes. We get rewarded when we do good jobs, we get penalized when we do bad jobs. And in the same way, we have to make our systems learn. When we are doing it, it is nothing but how the systems are going to behave as the human has behaved in past or has been behaving today. So that is how I see, and that is how I explain the clients to pick up. Now, AI definitely, like I just spoke, is the new norm. It is new norm. We have been hearing, we have seen many examples. And I was actually amazed recently when I was talking to one of my Swedish clients, and they told me that, you know what, Amazon Go has actually been inspired by a very tiny Swedish grocery store, which is in Sweden, in a small town called Vivid, and the store's name was Narafer. And if you Google, you will find out how Amazon Go has actually picked up from there. You enter the store, you just use your app, and you get into it, grab a product, and use the technology. Let's walk out. They will just walk out without standing in any queues, without any checkout. How is it identifying? How is it identifying what product I'm picking up? How is it identifying the weight of the product, the price of the product? And what if I just pick up a product from the shelf and keep it back and don't want it anymore when within the store? And how is it actually debiting what I am actually supposed to pay Amazon for? So these concepts Amazon has actually picked up from small tiny stores like Nerafer I mentioned. But when you get all the good experience, all the customer experience is actually unparalleled. Similarly, you are in day out life, you have been seeing that how Alexa has been creating billions of messages daily. Similarly, if you talk about Amazon's product recommendations, which are so personalized, you won't believe that it is actually most of the like 4,000 products are being actually sold in a minute in Amazon.com. And that is just because of the product recommendations that they're making. How do you archive the player data? How do you see whenever a particular player is making a goal, it is actually doing a big achievement, then how do you see the history of that player? How do you see how he has played in the past? So this is the background of it is artificial intelligence. Wherever you see there are vision services, which we also call as computer vision, natural language processing, which is actually giving processing your language, making your language understood by the system, and making a speech to text or text to speech, or helping you with language translation services. So there are many services at the back of AI that you can use. Similarly, supply chain, you can't believe Amazon is making like 1.6 million deliveries in a day. And then similarly, they are actually we have heard about it, the deliveries through drone. In 2016 itself, they actually flew the Amazon Prime Air. So all this is actually the future that I see, and it makes AI as a normal. Come 2030, what the statistics project is, the GDP is going to be 112 trillion, out of which 14% of it is actually being handled. The human productivity, 14% will be actually handled by AI itself. So that is the future where the businesses should be heading towards. Now, when I talk about AI, most of the times what I see, my clients would say, okay, it's one of the forecasting systems. It's one of the predictions that I have to make I have to inculcate in my business. But to be frank, it is a lot more than that. You have to understand, like I said in the beginning of the session, you have to understand your business. You have to see whether your business have a targeted goal. If yes, then supervised learning is the way, is the algorithm, is one of the paradigm in machine learning that you have to follow, because you know the target. You have to find the ways to get better on that target. If you don't know the target and you have various kind of patterns in your business, you actually opt for unsupervised learning. You don't have to assume anything. You keep analyzing your system, categorize it, question everything, why it has happened, how it will happen, and what kind of patterns it is going to follow. And based on that, you will actually be clustering, and you will be finding that what is good and what is bad for you. Then there is a type of customer. There's a third paradigm in machine learning called as reinforcement learning. And I'll tell you that some of our clients who have actually embarked, let's say 2 or 3 years back, they are already on this journey of AI ML. They find that they have actually made a machine learn their systems, learn their business scenarios, but now they're seeing that how do I improve the system's behavior? How do I make sure that if tomorrow any new scenario has been encountered, it will be actually for good. It will be taken care by my AI ML system. So if you see the example, it's a bit funny example. I was going through the Google, I found this one example which says that if a baby is yelling, then it is, let's say your system, I have got a system to measure the baby actions, right? And then I have got the bad action, I would say a baby is yelling. And then if he has actually done a mischief, then the mother penalizes by giving him some kind of a minor punishment. And if a crawling baby has stood up, it will be deemed as a good action. And then the mother is going to reward that child that he has made a good action. Similarly, our systems, our machines, which we have trained over tons and tons of data, they will actually be we have to configure our systems in reinforcement learning in such a way, for each bad action we are penalizing them, for each good action we are rewarding. So next time, if it sees that kind of a particular data, that specific action would be taken, because it knows the system is going to be penalized. So that is about, maximizing your performing behavior. If I go next, I think I will actually jump into thinking. Most of my clients I have been talking to, they are either into marketing space, F&A. I mean, they are into customer services, or they are into IT world as well. So these are the four broad categories that I see. Although there are multiple domains within each of them that we are catering to, but what I see is that, as you see on the right side of this slide, then how they are making benefit out of it, automating the run book in a IT world, or automating, determination of security intrusions, or in the marketing world, doing the sentiment analysis, customer behavior, buying patterns. So these are certain areas that most of the clients are jumping into. Similarly, F&A, I mean, the finance and accounting is one of the most important in the critical market, which has adopted AI/ML fastest. And then what I see is all those trading actions, forecasting, predictions that they're making, and how the system, how different finance systems are going to behave, how we can reconcile all those actions which were manual, which were tedious, and required tremendous amount of efforts, have now been automated through AI/ML. Similarly, customer service, obviously, that is one space that we have seen that because of the advent of conversational AI, or the bots or agents that we normally call nowadays, the call distribution, the triaging of the calls, or the way we used to address the calls or turn around, give the query resolution, has actually improved leaps and bounds. So with that, I feel that these all are very convincing reasons. What I feel is, make any client ensure that this is the way to go. Now let us get into grassroots of seeing how other industries are behaving, how other industries have adopted. Recently, I had a very interesting project with one of my retail clients, and they wanted us to work on the planogram modeling. So for all those who are not aware of what planogram means, it's actually a visual representation of the shelves that you see, or in any store. Let's say in our Indian context, big bazaars of the world, or in American context, what we are talking about here is, let's say, Walmart, or we're talking about Lowe's, which are into retail, clothing, and merchandising. So how do we place the products? Let me take an example, and that is how I always relate. Why do I always see, when I walk into some kind of food store, or in the shelves, a big food store, I see the pastas of the world are at the bottommost shelf, while the breads or the sauces are on the topmost shelf, or any kit products are actually at a height of, let's say, 3 to 4 feet only? There is a reason behind it. In the traditional approach, we always, most of the retailers, what they used to, there were limitations. What they used to do was, they used to actually use heuristics, or use manual efforts, in order to find out which all products are going out of stocks, which all products are perishable, where the product should be placed. So in order to, with the artificial intelligence and computer vision services, we can actually have cameras against each of the aisles, which are actually going to pick up the images of the products that are most frequently picked up, the products which are kids products, the products which are perishable or non-perishable, the products which are most sought after, or the inventory of the products. And as soon as these vision services are going to identify the such products when the customer is buying, and even they are able to capture customer segments, which customer is picking it up, what is its buying pattern, or what is his. I also remember one of the examples in Google, when I started learning about AI/ML, how Target has achieved to figure out a teenager girl is actually buying the baby products, and hence a letter or a promotional offer saying that, what are the promotions or the discounts on the baby products are there, because in actual she was actually expecting. and her parents came to know only when the sales and promotion letter from Target was being sent. So most of the times my mentors have been giving me such examples where the big data or the AI ML behind it and the analytics have helped figure out, rank the product, find the buying patterns of the customer, also help the retailers do the proper space utilization of the shelves. So that is one of the interesting consulting projects that I am running nowadays. Apart from this, in past, I've also worked with certain clients in e-commerce domain who have actually used AI ML automation to manage the inventories. Obviously, in past, we used to have long registers, manual ways of working it out, and then even with the advent of computers, we have seen the people have been entering the data manually, understanding or analyzing it using tremendous effort of inventory managers that goes at the background. Nowadays, again, we're using the computer vision. How do we what is going out of stock, like I mentioned in the previous example as well, that is being easily captured, what kind of inventory has to be replenished, those kind and how the dispatch or the delivery management, right from the time when the product is created to the assembly line and to the dispatch and shipping, how it has to move. The movement of the product is completely automated using the NLP as well as the computer vision services. And drone is one of the another examples which we talked about. It is just like a click and collect. It will just pick up the product from the retailer, pick up the address, and then within certain time period, let's say 30 minutes or so, it is going to reach and drop the product at the backyard. And we have seen such examples. I'm sure you guys have heard about it, how Amazon's like I just mentioned in the Prime Air delivery has been doing it within the 30 minutes and even collecting the payments from the customer without any human intervention. So these are some examples that we have encountered. Now, another interesting example, and all those who are actually obviously nowadays everybody wants to be fit and they want to get into the that mode where they can actually track how their fitness regime is going on. So recently we got a very interesting project from one of the American clients in fitness industry, and they wanted us to implement a human pose detection. So within AI space, we have actually got a methodology to follow, a paradigm called human pose detection, which obviously uses the computer vision services as well, but it will actually use augmented reality. Whenever you are in gym and you are working out with weights, it is going to pick up the gestures. It is going to quantify what kind of actions you are taking. Are you following what the trainer has actually asked you to? How many, let's say on the left, as you see on the picture, how many bench presses you have made, or how many curls you have, bicep curls you have made. So it is going to count upon it, and the data is being actually given to the fitness, the apps which are running in the in the UI, and then the trainer is able to look into those kind of details and then create or modify the fitness regime of each and every person. And they are so precise. I mean, the human pose detection is going to work in such a precise way that that there are hundred of ways of doing an exercise, hundred of yoga ways or asanas that we have encountered in years, and there are hundred of there is a degree of freedom in the way we can move our body. So and then the outfits that we are wearing and appearances that we are making on the camera, all of that, the system has to be precise enough to detect, to categorize, and then actually give the results back to your trainer. Another important example, I think 2 years back, we were working for a European football league, and believe me, today they have a database that is actually one of the most distinctive databases on the planet. This European football league has been actually collecting data of their players, of their emotions while they are playing, the way they are playing, the achievements they are making, their actions, as well as they are actually collecting the data of the brand logos that are the brand sponsors, and and the kind of the merchandise which is being purchased because of those brand logos. So all of the data they have been picking using the vision based services, and as a result of which they were able to construct the largest what we call in the media word is the media asset management. They have got a media asset management system at the back which has actually archived the largest metadata and the most distinctive one. So it's a treasure too. I would say it's a treasure. It's a gold mine for the company, because they can just think about it. How many decisions they can take, how much of forecasting about a player they can make, how much of forecasting about the games they can make, and hence, and even they can actually. I mean, we all know the industry across the domains are actually, the lines of sand are getting removed. So this is how the sports industry is getting merged to retailers or marketing or merchandising, based on the the brand logos that are being picked up, and how the marketing of that product is working, doing analytics on top of such data. So this actually was one of the great achievement for this football league. Okay, so this one is kind of a personal, something that is very personal, and I have recently been looking for an SUV, and you guys might have heard about MG Motors. I visited them, and I got a chance to drive a MG Gloucester, if you guys know that car. And believe me or not, it's a self-driving car. I would say it's a self-driving Indian context, in the Indian context. So it has got a system, and it was very interesting to note that it has got a system called as Advanced Driver Assistance System, also acronymed as ADAS. You would have heard at many other places in automobile industry. ADAS is a system that actually creates, using the AI ML, using cameras that is installed in the car, using a GPS module and an onboard diagnostic. These are the three devices that it is going to add to it. It is going to pick up, you create an aura around the car. When I'm driving, I can actually put my car under a cruise control, because my car is able to detect the speed of the car which is just ahead of me, and it follows with that speed until I brake manually. And if the next car to me is actually braking and it is actually stopping, then my car is going to follow the same pattern. So it maintains the distance at which I actually set it into the cruise control. Similarly, if a car is actually overtaking me at a distance which is less than the prescribed distance, and my car is, can foresee a collision, then a collision warning has been given, and it is able to recognize the traffic signs. It is able to actually recognize even the parking functions. There is a parking assistance function. Believe me or not, I can actually park my car without even touching my steering. And it gets into a cruise control. It measures the distance between the two cars within which we are actually going to park our car, and then on the cruise control, the steering is going to move on its own. On the right side of this slide, I have an interesting case study as well. Not only that, if you're driving that car and you doze, we often do. We actually work late nights, being in IT and all, and next day we have to drive, take our family on a highway or something, and we doze. And if we doze, then it's a critical situation, right? So nowadays, I mean, I was even talking to XUV 700 people. You know that this car is going to get launched recently by Mahindra in almost in August end, and I just enrolled that I want this car, I'm interested in this car. And what they've started doing is, and it's nothing to do with the AML, but it's like more to do with the marketing gimmick. They've actually started sending me SMS of one unique feature that that car is going to bring that we haven't seen in past. This is an indigenous built AI system in XUV 700 that is being created since last 3 or 4 years, and now this car is going to launch soon. It has got actually a driver action prediction capability. It can predict whether I'm going just about to doze off, I'm going to sleep, or I'm actually not focused in driving, and it is going to start giving my alert, which is going to wake me up, obviously. Then there is if we read the second one, I'll actually not go into the technicalities of it, but there are like convolutional deep learning methods to do this or achieve this. There are convolutional neural network based computer vision systems that work in the background that actually checks my facial expression, as you can see, do some kind of analytics on top of it, classify, and then give the results. So there's different systems. One of the other system that which I recently learned is the RNN LSTM, is a long short term memory. And these are all very technical terms in AIML, but these are the systems in the background that these companies have adopted. And yes, definitely in the Indian context on the roads, we would definitely need such alerting systems. Okay, so I would name this customer. Long back, I worked with this customer, Vogue magazine. You guys have heard about it in the New York City, one of the biggest, largest fashion magazine. And they made me believe that seeing is deceiving. Seeing, it can be deceiving, especially in the given situation when you are in the when during the pandemic there are lockdown restrictions and all. Most of the marketers who are actually the experiential marketers, I would say, who are into the fashion industries, are trying to use a technology in AI called as deep fake. And this technology, you won't believe, it is actually the face that you're seeing on the screen might not be the face of the same celebrity that is your favorite one. It happens. They will actually use a face swapping technology. They can actually take a picture which they would have taken, years ago, and add emotions to that picture. As you see on the right, there are softwares that would actually give neutral, happy, surprised, and you can see the lady on the picture is smiling, but the actual picture that I clicked a few years back and I trained my system was actually a neutral sentiment that the lady was showing up. Not only this, you can change the hair length, you can change the face, you can actually reduce the age. I mean, I'm sure most of the female members here would be much happy to hear about it. You can reduce the age before actually putting it across on the, for the public viewing. And that too at a quality which is equivalent to a Hollywood quality. Recently, in 2019, it's not recent, like 2 years back, you guys would have heard how there was this fake technology, actually deep fake technology, has got a lot of contradictions because of the business ethics, because people say that anybody can change the face of anyone, and it can actually go in a wrong direction at times. So, but believe me, most of the technologies who have adopted this, they are using it for global community services. In 2019, David Beckham was the chosen celebrity, as you see on the right, who was actually he communicated a message of malaria must die. If you Google it, you will find it. Malaria must die is the message that he communicated in 10 different languages. Same celebrity, but in different languages. How they were able to achieve, because they pick up the voice. They pick up the voice from different languages, different doctors across the worlds, across the world, and then they have actually superimposed, they have synthesized on the favorite celebrity, which is David Beckham, because people want to hear from their favorite celebrity talking in different languages. That campaign had got a lot of meaning behind, because of the community service that it is following. Okay, so all those my single friends who are being every time their grandmas or elderly have been asking them to settle down fast. You have got a deep fake technology to tell them and take them to this person doesn't exist.com. This will actually use a technology called GAN, which is for in AI word called Generative Adversarial Network, using which has actually been developed by NVIDIA Corp, but it will generate each time you actually refresh the screen, it will bring a new lifelike image, and you can actually conjure your grandma with these images, yet there is no person like this who exists in this world. So that's just a fun example, but people have been adopting in the fashion industry. They have been leveraging out of it. Similarly, digital avatars. You might be hearing about how Oculus or HoloLens of the world are working, and how you can actually play with your own avatars. Or if you want to bring your favorite, celebrities who have, or scientists or paintings to life, you can actually pick up and train tens and thousands of their online photos to your system in such a way that it can actually bring those into and convert them into avatars and bring them back to life. So there are many examples that you see, and industries are adopting. They are getting convinced using those examples. In the healthcare world, which obviously with the given situation, we have seen that it has gained all the more importance. Doing the X-rays in the traditional ways, giving the CT scans or reports, the time to turn around, the precision or the accuracy that we have been talking about in medical world has actually tremendously improved with the advent of computer vision services. Similarly, given the situation, everybody wants a virtual nurse that they can actually rely on if there is some issue. So many of our medical clients who are into pharmacy or medical, they are actually adopting that route and developing as we speak. And then I can actually take you through one of the example of the dairy products in a Denmark-based customer who was actually into anomaly detection. They actually, when the bottles, milk bottles were on the assembly line, they were bottled, they were packed, and were ready to dispatch. They were actually checking the anomalies into it so that none of the products is actually delivered with a bad quality at a later stage when it is very difficult to roll back such a thing because it has got financial impacts. And hence during the bottling itself they were making sure that they were finding out the anomalies again using the machine learning algorithms. In education world, although it is actually a slow adopter in this area, but definitely those who have adopted, one of our New York based universities, which is our client, they have actually automated their complete enrollment services using the either the OCR, which is actually the optical character recognition services to process the documents that we submit when we have to enroll, or they're using the chat bots to have forum discussions or resolve queries and enable each of the students to do it in a more efficient manner and hence optimize the complete enrollment cycle. And I have also seen that I mean nowadays you everybody is on Netflix or OTTs like Amazon and all, so they have been seeing that how the sentiment analysis are helping us predict what is the genre I'm interested in. And then next time when I actually get into that, it will actually show it not because of the browser history, obviously, because of the sentiment analysis it has done over a period of time on what kind of genres I like. Similarly, nowadays politicians during the campaign plannings are using all the unstructured data that is available on internet, like the social media, Twitter handles and all. They have been picking up all the feeds, picking up the sentiments, and then overturn the complete public image through their messages using the analytical results that they are that the complete the people community have been making. One more interesting example before I really jump into the case in point, because recently Sarna Bhavan came back to us, and I'm sure you guys must have heard about this. You guys have actually had your favorite South Indian dishes with amazing aroma as you enter the restaurant. I'm sure you would have encountered that. So they recently came back to us with a given situation. They want their customers to be safe, to be secure when they enter, and be assured that all required corona related guidelines are being followed. Then they wanted us to work on the very high precision cameras that were installed within Sarna Bhavan, and they want to mask and unmask. They want to check whether their employees who are working, who are serving, they are masked or unmasked, and hence that would actually maximize mostly the customer comfort. I mean, even if they're in the waiting area, they're waiting, they are more comforted. And like we heard from the founder of the Savna Bhavan as well, it is one of the most important dining experience that in today's world that has to be inculcated in the food industry. So this one was interesting. Let me, with this, I actually wanted to cover in the previous section that how our industries are benefiting, how they have adopted this, how they have already onboarded. But now when I'm talking to my clients, they have often been asking me, how can I get onto this journey? Recently, I'm actually working as I speak with one of the American mass media entertainment conglomerate. They are facing a lot of challenges, I would say, especially because of the content localization. The content that they're working in have to be delivered in 30 different languages in 30 different countries globally, and then they in actually more than 30 countries, because the languages are repeated as well. But the problem here is that how do I convert and localize the content once created? How do I make sure the challenge is that like my content is conforming to know to the audio, to the video? How do I see that they're complying to the technical specifications of the guidelines that a particular country is following? And then when my content is ready, how do I make sure that the lip syncing, when I actually try to superimpose using the deepfake technology, is perfect? The captions in the different languages that I see running in the background or running in the in the foreground, then obviously how do I make sure that they are properly synced up? They faced a lot of problem of conformance, and they adopted a way along with us using a AI powered media content localization, obviously working at the background with three different paradigms of machine learning. One is generative AI, deepfake, like I recently mentioned to you, then speech and vision services. Using all these services, they were able to have a video intelligence system that will actually see if the audio and the video, when I am translating a content or when I'm creating a closed captions for a content, they are actually synced up or not. When I'm dubbing, they are actually complying or not. Is the lip syncing working appropriately or not? And one of their examples, actually they were the broadcasters of this particular video as well in 2019. One voice, many languages, malaria must die. The message is same, but in different languages that can actually contextualize you or attach you to your localized version. And when you hear, obviously when we hear in something in the localized language, we feel more connected to that message, and hence that was the whole idea to eradicate malaria. And believe me, this company has actually implemented the solution in on their content, and they actually have large, megabytes of content that we are talking about here. They've seen there has been 4x bandwidth saving in the editor. The editors who were working manually on this, the creative bandwidth has been saved by 4x, and 35% of, reduction in the non-conformance that we have seen. And there were many orders lost because of this problem that we have seen in the middle. And we saw that over a period of 3 years, they have seen there has been a 50% reduction in all those order lost, which they could have gained. And also the speed and accuracy with which I can deliver my content, and in a localized language connected to my customer, has increased tremendously. So this was one of the very critical projects that we executed recently, and it has actually gained a lot of benefits using the transformation. Okay, so not only that, I mean, you would also be thinking back of your mind, it is not an easy journey. Definitely not an easy journey. Most of the organizations have tried in before as well. There are certain hurdles which have prevented them as well. But let's understand what has actually stopped me. Expertise is real, definitely, no doubt about it. Data might not be ready. There can be problems on the readiness. There can be problem of my objective as well, whether I want to generate revenues or I want to, do a cost cutting. So there can be different objectives. Whether I want to stick this complete function with my core functions, let's say we're talking about FNA, then I just stick to the reconciliation, invoicing, or document processing, or should I actually make it accessible to the complete business value chain of an enterprise? So there are many questions that run in the back, and then there is obviously it's a time consuming, expensive, and and there are ways to make it easy to use, a scalable. And what I would actually take you through is identify, go ahead, identify, definitely start early. Don't stop yourself now. If you know your goals, you know what you're heading towards, what your business would would want 3 years down the line. Identify that goal. Identify a small use case. Start with a MVP, a minimal viable product, or start with doing a POC on that. Define a product, collect the data around it. Definitely you have to clean. There are ways and methods which I will talk about in my next slide very briefly with you, but there are ways to annotate it, pre-process the data, make it accessible and readable by the machine. Then there are many cloud providers to help you out. Opt for one, or if your enterprise has already opted for one, there are many services that they are actually deploying. They will give you pre-built models which can actually train your system, and then they can also help you evaluate which through their matrices which model would be best for you. Once you identify that in your POC or a MVP, deploy it, give the inferences to customer, let the customer do the benefit realization, and monitor it over a period of time. And then you take baby steps to grow this, and finally deploy the model which is actually fit for your business. Definitely taking this into mind, please don't forget AI has got business ethics at the background. At each step, what I've tried to put across is a business ethic that your business must follow without any exception. It has to be a responsible AI that you have to deploy. It has to follow the complete transparency and fairness with each and every end client. It can't be actually, biased to one kind of creed or community. Similarly, your system should be robust enough that can ensure safety of human. So there are many, and every other cloud provider nowadays is giving the systems that are following all this. Just to give you a last brief idea, I know I haven't touched upon much about technology options, but there are, like I said, that across across the workflow between different models like data exploration, different phases through which my AI model works. Today, there are a number of COTS products available in the market. It's a gamut of products. As an example, for talking about model evaluation, TensorBoards or Streamlets, and then you have other data processing and exploration tools, SAS, Python, R. There are many languages that can adopt. You have to just make a choice as to what fits best for your company and how it will actually give the maximum benefit. With that, I actually close, and I would actually invite people to jump into questions and we can actually brainstorm.
Thank you, Rohit. That was a wonderful explanation of business transformation with AI and ML. And yeah, we have got a couple of questions for you, and we have 6 minutes in the hand. And let's figure out how many questions we could answer in that time. Let me throw the first question to you by Saurabh. He's okay. He's asking, would you say that AI in business is here to stay and we need to adopt or perish?
Thank you, Saurabh. And like you have seen in the first part of my presentation, it is the future. It is the future that is going to actually help you with the experience management of your end clients. It is going to stay. It is going to grow in a baby steps. Like I mentioned at the end of my slide as well, it is going to grow in incremental fashion. You can't do a big bang change to the business. Definitely, you should not adopt, but start adopting it, figuring out which objectives. Obviously, not all the objectives can be fulfilled through AI or ML, but identify and categorize your objectives. And then you have to embark that journey. Otherwise, your business will be left back because of the lack of the technology backbone.
All right, and let's move on to next question with 4 minutes left in hand. Ameya is asking, first of all, amazing session. And then he says, business keep on changing in this remote world. Do you feel AI and ML can fuel or bridge that kind of a gap?
Thank you, Amya. Definitely, it can fuel. Why? Because, like I mentioned, you have to keep you. It's a journey. AI/ML is a journey. You actually bring this into speed today, but you can't leave the hand. That hand, a human hand, has always been there. It has to be there in order to keep reinforcing, keep retraining, pick up the new scenarios for that business. So that kind of hand holding has to be there from the human. You can't get rid of the, if you forecast, if somebody is telling you get rid of 100% human intervention, obviously not. That is not possible, and that is how the systems are going to regenerate new scenarios and help the business grow and take up new scenarios as well in tomorrow's world.
All right, Rohit, the question and answer chat is swamped by questions, and we have 3 minutes. Let's take up the next question by Bhushan. He's asking, okay, can you suggest areas where there is scope for R&D using AI and ML? That sounds an interesting question.
The areas where you are doing research and development, definitely, why not? We touched upon medical. Remember, we talked about the medical domain, and one of my very good friend is a doctor. He's a eye specialist, and I have been recently talking to him. We were talking yesterday about how you can return back the vision to blind, and how the technology behind is working in Australia. The research which has been recently done in the medical domain is related to creating a synthetic eye that is going to actually connect back to your optical nerve and give back the vision. So that is a study. Obviously, it's a very tough route. He was telling me it's going to be a very tough route. It is going to take years to do that. But obviously, using the AI/ML, you can actually map that research. You can increase the speed and the accuracy through which you can achieve that.
All right, Rohit. A lot of appreciation coming in for the session for you. We have 1 more minute, and let's try to answer this question. I think a lot of people would have this in mind, especially who are just starting their journey into this field. What are the common challenges of implementing AI? Prashant Dibade wants to know.
Okay, so that's a great question, and many other enterprises have been facing the same. See, like I mentioned, data will be there. You have to. How do you categorize your data is actually readable, or how do you if the machine can be trained? That is one of the challenge that you will face. Second, I mean, there are soft challenges definitely to how to get the ML resources, how to ramp up on that skill set, which technology. These are all soft challenges. I would not address that. That depends from enterprise to enterprise. But data, how do you categorize it? How do you make sure that it is fed in such a way that it gives back the right accuracy and meets the objective is one area. Secondly, figuring out your short-term goals. Figuring out, like I said, whether you should be sticking to the core services or you should address over a long term, over a term of let's say 3 or 4 years, over the complete business value chain of your enterprise or not. That is one decision you have to make. Adoption, how I address this is adapt and adopt. First you adapt, how to make sure your enter, because it's a cultural change. You have to see that as well. It's one of the challenges, that how do you make sure your enterprises buy into it, they adapt these technologies and then adopt for the future. So these are certain challenges which most of the industries are facing. Obviously there are many other challenges like time consumption. It all depends on effectiveness, and all it all depends on the technology that you are going to opt for.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rohit. There are a couple more questions, but unfortunately, we are running out of time and we would take those questions offline. So if your questions are not being asked, don't worry about it. We have the question log and we'll get them answered by Rohit later. Thank you once again, Rohit. That was an amazing session, and thank you, participants, for some amazing questions.